We're at it again, witnessing a strange paradox in British politics. At a time when public discourse is flooded with cynicism, apathy, theatrical populism, the most unambiguous voice warning against authoritarian drift is coming not from the government nor from the main opposition, but from the leader of a party with 72 seats, Sir Ed Davey and the Lib Dems. At their spring conference in Harrogate, Sir Ed issued not a polite caution but a full-throated rebuke. His central message: stand up to Trump. And in the same breath, stand up to those within our own politics who would turn British and Britain into a transatlantic tribute act at the very worst, in the very worst form of American populism. Davey didn't mince his words. He called Donald Trump a bully. He accused him of betraying Ukraine and selling out the security of the United Kingdom, and he issued a damning warning that appeasement never works, not in war, not in trade, and certainly not in values. And his speech may have startled those accustomed to Lib Dem tropes about bin collections and broadband. This was something different, a moment of strategic seriousness. Trump's proposed tariffs on British steel are not economic policy, they are coercive diplomacy. His refusal to guarantee NATO obligations is not isolationism, it is dereliction of duty. And what, Davey asked, is Britain doing in response? Flinching. From Labour, a murmur about pragmatism. From the Conservatives, silence or worse, supplication. The rumour that the government might scrap the digital services tax on tech giants like Meta and Amazon purely to mollify Trump is not diplomacy, it's economic surrender. And against this backdrop, Davey calls to impose retaliatory tariffs, for instance, on Tesla imports. This isn't protectionism, it's a signal. Britain will not be cowed. Yet Trump is not Davey's only concern. He reserved equal vitriol for Nigel Farage, his poodle, whom he painted, quite rightly, as a Trump surrogate in a pinstripe suit, a man who, when asked which leader he most admired, replied, Vladimir Putin. This is the man who claims to speak for British sovereignty, the same man who is now gallivanting across the United States speaking at a £25,000 a table Republican fundraiser, logging over 800 hours of outside employment while supposedly still serving the constituents of Clacton. If ever there was a living embodiment of serving two masters, it is Farage, except he seems to have forgotten which nation he's meant to represent. Sir Ed's most withering line may have been this: Nigel Farage has never uttered the word care in Parliament, not once, not about the NHS, GPs, ambulances or dentists. A man who claims to champion the people, yet has no apparent interest in the institutions that serve them. Farage's party, Reform UK, is now mired in internal chaos. Resignations, infighting, a suspended MP, a disillusioned grassroots movement that accuses Farage of silencing dissent, vetting out loyalty, and turning a populist insurgency into a top-down marketing vehicle. In trying to become respectable, Farage has become what he once loathed: managerial, elitist, and oddly obsessed with American validation. But Davey didn't stop at Farage. He also took aim at Kemi Badenoch, who mocked the Lib Dems as people good at fixing church roofs, as though community service was somehow contemptible. Davey's riposte was sharp. Yes, we do fix things, and that's exactly what British politics needs. In a nation grappling with overstretched public services, rising inequality, and global democratic recession, the metaphor of the church roof couldn't be more apt. It symbolises preservation, dignity, local stewardship. It's the opposite of theatrical rage. When Thatcher was concerned about responsibility, she got out in a park and picked up litter. The Lib Dems are fixing church roofs. Small, practical steps. Davey's speech wasn't merely a criticism of Trump or Farage, it was an attempt to reposition the Lib Dems as the voice of resilient liberalism, of internationalism, of decency, the rule of law. He spoke of building a new relationship with the EU, of standing with Canada and European allies, and of launching a European rearmament bank to defend democratic values. And perhaps most importantly, he did something very few British politicians are willing to do. He named the danger. He didn't pretend Trump is some misunderstood eccentric. He didn't cloak Farage's antics in the language of political pluralism. He called them for what they are, threats to the democratic fabric of our country. So as we approach the local elections in May, and as the shadow of Trump lingers over us once more from the White House, Sir Ed Davey's challenge is clear. Britain must decide whether it wishes to imitate America's culture or repair its own social contract. This, in his words, a battle of values, a battle of vision, a battle for the future. And he is right. We've had enough of cringing before bullies, whether they call themselves Trump or Farage, of cozying up to strong men in the thought that they are going to provide protection. As we see, they don't. They duck responsibility. They flinch. And they talk about what their friends, what their allies are wearing, rather than what they are doing, standing up for democracy, for freedom. We've had enough of people trading principle for convenience. The time for euphemism is over. It's time to stand up, not just to Trump and his proxies, but to the rot that they represent, whether they're called Elon Musk, whether they're called J.D. Vance, whether they're called Farage, or whether the king of all mockery, Trump, the king of flim-flam.